Imagine waking up one morning and finding out that an electromagnetic weapon accidentally went off the coast, instantly killing almost 500,000 people. That's like wiping out the entire population of Wyoming in a single moment. But here's the kicker. They didn't stay dead. They came back as mindless living decay, which sounds way cooler than it actually is. Enter Ava, played by Daisy Ridley, who's basically the poster child for I can fix him energy, except instead of a toxic boyfriend, she's obsessing over her missing husband Mitch in a zombie apocalypse. She volunteers for a body retrieval unit, which is exactly as grim as it sounds. We're talking about the horrifyingly mundane task of removing 500,000 corpses. It's like the world's worst cleanup crew, but with more teeth-grinding and existential dread. Now, here's where things get interesting. And by interesting, I mean frustratingly slow. Director Zach Hilditch decided to take the zombie genre and turn it into an art house meditation on grief and obsession. The undead in this movie aren't your typical brain-hungry sprinters or shuffling walkers. They're more like melancholic furniture that occasionally moves and makes unsettling grinding sounds with their teeth. Some of them even show signs of their past selves, like there's still a person trapped behind those deadened eyes, unable to reach the surface. The movie tries to explore this thin line between obsession and commitment, which sounds deep until you realize that every terrible thing that happens to Ava is basically her own fault. She's putting other people in danger because she can't accept that her husband might be zombie chow. It's like watching someone repeatedly touch a hot stove while insisting it's not actually hot. Daisy Ridley does her best with what she's given, but surprisingly, she spends most of the movie just looking on with wide-eyed shock. For someone who wielded a lightsaber against the First Order, she seems oddly unprepared for some slow-moving corpses. The supporting cast includes Mark Cole-Smith as Clay, who brings some much-needed levity with his bogan banter and cracked machismo, and Brenton Thwaites as the suspicious soldier Riley, whose motivations are darker than a Tim Burton movie. The film attempts to be fresh by focusing on grief rather than gore, but it ends up stuck in this weird limbo where it's too slow and mournful to pass as popcorn entertainment, yet not quite thoughtful enough to nail its art house horror aspirations. It's like ordering a gourmet burger and getting a sad sandwich that can't decide if it wants to be fancy or fast food. What really stings is how this movie suffers when compared to other character-driven zombie flicks like Handling the Undead. That film managed to be elegiac and meaningful, while We Bury the Dead feels like it's constantly dangling fresh ideas in front of you, but never fully exploring them. It's the cinematic equivalent of someone starting to tell you a really good joke and then forgetting the punchline. The practical prosthetics by Jason Baird are genuinely, innovatively ghoulish, I'll give them that. But Hilditch feels the urge to throw these creepy creations into action sequences that his concept never needed, and that don't amplify any of his narrative or emotional themes. It's like having a beautiful sports car and only using it to drive to the grocery store. And then we get to the ending, which is where this whole thing goes completely off the rails. Without spoiling anything, let me just say it's the kind of wild, bizarre conclusion that turns what seemed like a decent original standalone into something much more terrifying. A setup. Both Ava and the audience are left searching for closure, for a bigger point, for something that might give the whole thing meaning. What we get instead is a perfectly ridiculous and absurdly neat resolution that feels like the writers painted themselves into a corner and decided to just knock down the wall. The movie clocks in at 94 minutes, which should feel breezy, but instead feels like you're watching paint dry in slow motion. It's rated R, presumably for the zombie violence, but honestly, the most disturbing thing about this movie is how it wastes its potential. Here's the thing about zombie movies. They work best when they're either pure adrenaline-pumping entertainment or when they use the undead as a metaphor for something deeper. We Bury the Dead tries to do both and succeeds at neither. It's like trying to be a romantic comedy and a horror movie at the same time. You end up with something that doesn't quite work as either. The film had its world premiere at South by Southwest in March 2025 and hit theaters on January 2nd, 2026. Critics have been mixed, with some praising Ridley's performance and the film's ambitious approach, while others, like the folks at Bloody Disgusting, who gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, criticized it for over-relying on well-worn zombie tropes. What's most frustrating about We Bury the Dead is that you can see the good movie hiding underneath all the missed opportunities. There's a compelling story about grief, about the lengths we'll go for the people we love, and about what happens when hope becomes delusion. But instead of committing to these themes, the movie keeps reverting to generic zombie movie beats that feel tired and predictable. So, should you watch We Bury the Dead? Well, if you're a die-hard Daisy Ridley fan, or you're really into slow-burn zombie movies that prioritize mood over action, you might find something to appreciate. But if you're looking for either a satisfying zombie thriller or a profound meditation on loss, you're probably better off looking elsewhere. This burial might have been better left undisturbed.